Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. Today I'm very pleased to share with you one of my best performing mini Phalaenopsis orchids. This one is a Noid, and let's take a look at its video from last year. Last year it already started to give me 2 spikes, and it was the first time it produced 2 spikes ever. And this year it also did the same thing, so obviously I'm doing something right. But at the time, one of the spikes, the flower started to fade from the end of the spike, and I think that was because either water wasn't enough or nutrients wasn't enough. Essentially, something was missing that caused the flowers to, toward the end of the spike to start to fade first, because usually it's the older flowers that would start to fade first. Another thing about last year's how it was last year was, you can see some of the roots are probably already dead, and it was dead. Some of those were dead, so that was one reason. And then the second reason is this orchid had quite a bit of aerial roots. So with these 2 reasons, I decided to give this orchid a repot after its last year's bloom cycle, and I did just that. And this year it just did so well since the repot, and basically rewarded me with another double spikes with full bloom, no bud blast. So it was quite a show. Even with just one orchid, I could not take my eyes off of this orchid when it was in bloom. It was just very festive and just very nice to look at, especially the colors too. That purple fuchsia color, very saturated color. So the reason I really enjoy this orchid is because it's completely easy. It's not a fussy orchid. So I give this orchid 1/4 cup of water every time. In winter, I do scale back to around 1/8 of a cup. But throughout winter time, I pretty much give this orchid fertilizer every time I give it water, and the fertilizer dosage is 25%, so 1/4. And it's currently in this inorganic media mix, and that is a mixture of manto clay and hydrocorn. And because this clay pot is the original clay pot that this orchid came with, and I just kept using, and it's not a big clay pot, so the ratio that I use is 2:1, 2 parts manto clay and 1 part hydrocorn, and the hydrocorn being the bigger pebble, because if I use the bigger pebble, it's probably too airy inside the pot, and I wanted to make sure that the orchid is secure and feels snugged, so I opted with a little bit higher ratio for manto clay. And the reason I continue to use the clay pot also because the way that I set it up. I like to put this clay pot into an 8-ounce cup, and this 8-ounce cup being at the bottom is kind of like a saucer. Because when I give this orchid 1/4 cup of water, obviously because of the inorganic media, the pebbles inside, it's very airy, has lots of space in between pebbles. The water would get through to the bottom of the cup really quickly, and with the plastic cup being at the bottom, it collects the water, and we all know clay pot is very absorbent. It's very porous, it's very absorbent, so the water can still be wick up into wick up, and the orchid can access that water when it needs to. And if the orchid doesn't need that much water during the process, during the 1 week wet dry cycle I try to set it up for my orchid, the clay pot can also help evaporate some of that excess water. So the setup is really nice. And since last year's performance, I recognize that this orchid actually enjoys the clay pot And by the way, for quite some time, the local suppliers of mini Phalaenopsis orchids, for the grocery stores that I go to, for quite some time, they all come with these mini clay pots, and I've always collected these and never throw them out, and because I know that they're going to be handy sometime, because some orchids are just smaller in size, and clay pots are actually really nice materials to use. Even though a lot of my orchids are in plastic cups, but for this orchid, and in fact I have a few small miniature Phalaenopsis orchids are still in clay pot, and they are doing just wonderfully. So if you haven't tried clay pot yet, you should give it a try, because it actually may be a method that's gonna help you become very successful in your growing condition. Some people may say that one of the downsides using clay pot is that the salt buildup or algae is easily visible on clay pots, but I can tell you it's actually very easy to clean. All you need to do is just to wet the pot, use a sponge or even just some kind of brush. It's very easy to get those off, so don't feel like once you have those deposits and they're gonna stay there forever. In fact, I don't mind those deposits or algae because I think they actually made the clay pot look more rustic, more authentic almost. But it's an aesthetic / personal preference. So if you feel you haven't tried clay pot because of salt deposits or calcium deposits or algae, rest assured that it's actually really easy to get those off the clay pots. So don't let those be the deterrent for trying out this container material. Now back to this orchid. It's a very easy to care for orchid. It's a grocery store Phalaenopsis, very cheap. I think it was $5.99 US, so $6 US. Not fussy at all, very easy to take care of it. And every year it just reblooms and reblooms, and last year and this year it gives me double spikes, so I'm really happy about its performance. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!